Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, brought to you by BetDSI, and I'm your host, Mitchell Renz. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MitchellRenz365 for the latest Raiders news and rumors. My first rumor here is from our very own Tom Downey. And are the Raiders going to draft Josh Allen at pick number 4? Well, Tom, I'm giving this one 2 heads, and I think people are talking, and, well, you're the guy that's talking, and if there's one person who I listen to in the NFL draft media, it's Tom Downey. Go follow him at WhatGoingDowney. So the Raiders, as you all know, hold the number 4 pick in the 2019 NFL draft, and Tom, this is his second edition of the mock, and he has the Raiders taking Josh Allen out of Kentucky, and I love me some Josh Allen because he's super talented, he's super raw, and with a stellar combine, hey, people are talking that this dude could literally be the number 1 overall pick. And when you just look at raw traits, he's got him, and he's a little thin, right? I think that's the one thing that I've heard. He's a little bit thin, but I think if he can fill out, and once an NFL team gets him on an actual eating regimen, dude's going to put on some weight, and he's going to be a full-grown man. In 2018 at Kentucky, this guy was an absolute baller. 88 tackles, 22 of which were for a loss, 17 sacks, and then 5 forced fumbles in the SEC. Dude was a dominator. But here are my Raiders' first pick targets that I originally gave out in a previous video. And as you can see there, Josh Allen was my number 2 player, so I was pretty stoked once I saw Tom drafting the Raiders drafting him at 4. But I have Greedy Williams at 5. I have Quinnen Williams at defensive tackle from Alabama at 4. Cleveland Ferrell at 3. Josh Allen at 2. Not the Bills quarterback, but player out of Kentucky. And then Nick Bosa, defensive end out of Ohio State. He is my number 1 player. So who should the Raiders draft at number 4? I want to know from you. I want you to comment below. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, let me know. Who should the Raiders draft at pick 4? You know what you guys should do? You guys should subscribe below to youtube.com/The Raiders Report, the number 1 show right now on YouTube for Raiders coverage. Tell your friends. Tell them to come on over. The more people that subscribe, the more shows I get to do. I'm trying to be able to do a show every single day. So, again, subscribe below, youtube.com/The Raiders Report. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I wouldn't mind either, at MitchellRenz365. My next rumor here is around Mark Ingram. And is he going to be an Oakland Raider? I originally talked about Mark Ingram as being one of my favorite free agent running back targets for the Raiders. This one, though, for me is only 1 Chucky head, and I just think there's a small shred of truth. I think if you would have asked me maybe a few days ago, I would have said maybe it would have been closer to 2, but I think it's only 1. And the reason is Ingram came out yesterday and said that he wants to remain a Saint, even though previously in the offseason, NOLA.com reported that there was only a 30% chance of him staying with the Saints. But when you look at his market value according to Spotrac, I mean, he's looking to get $4.4 million a year, and I understand he's going to be 29 years old, and I understand he's going to be a free agent, but if this dude wants to stay in New Orleans and he wants to win now, as much as I want to say the Raiders are going to be better than the Saints, there's a reason why the Saints right now are the top team in the NFC. When you look at this past year for Ingram in 2018, it was a pretty good one. 138 carries, 645 yards, 4.7 yards per carry. And he did actually only have 1 touchdown, I believe, so maybe that's a correction on my part. And then Mark Ingram in general has been, I think, a better running back. When you look at his career stats, 1,321 carries, 6,007 yards, 4.5 yards per carry, and then 50 touchdowns. He's been a workhorse. Yeah, sure, the tires may be getting a little bit low on tread, but we also just saw Marshawn Lynch, who's got over like 2,000 career touches, actually play pretty well for the Raiders. So I think if you could get him into the offense, I think it's a player that, could be a Gruden grinder. He would be a good fit, and it's why he would be my number 2 player in terms of running back targets in 2019 for the Raiders. I released this video, I'm going to say about a week ago, and then I had Jay Ajayi and Tevin Coleman switched. So now I have Jay Ajayi at 5, Coleman at 4, Fournette at 3. He's not a free agent, okay? But I think if he's cheap, and the Jags have been saying that they want to get rid of him, I think it could be an interesting target for the Raiders. Mark Ingram at 2, Le'Veon Bell at 1. He's by far the most talented running back, I think, of all these. But if I would say in terms of just pure value, Tevin Coleman, hey, I like that value a lot. All right, those are my top 5. Which free agent running back do you want the Raiders to target this offseason? I want you guys to hit me up on Twitter at MitchellRenz365. Let me know what you guys think. Give me your top 5, and if it's good, maybe I'll retweet it. Who knows? Shout out to today's sponsor, BetDSI, for hooking us up here at Chat Sports with the best promo code on the internet. Go to chatsports.com/bet and use our promo code LIVE120 for 120% deposit bonus. You put down $50, you're going to get $60 for free. You put down $100, you'll get $120 for free. Put down $500, get $600 for free. Shout out to BetDSI for hooking up Chat Sports with the best promo code on the internet. All right, my next rumor here. Derek Carr, 79 overall. Really, Madden? Really, 79 overall? This one's zero Chucky heads. Tuck rule, tuck that. And when I originally saw this, I was like, man, the Derek Carr haterade is just getting out of control. And I understand they updated their rankings. But maybe somebody else needs to update their rankings, because at a 79 overall, that's kind of, I don't know, blows my mind a little bit. But Rodney Hudson's the highest rated Raider at 94. When I just look at what Derek Carr did this past year, I don't really know if it grants the fact that he should be only a 79. Like, I am kind of confused in that regard. So, I mean, Madden, come on, right? I mean, let's get it together a little bit. I mean, sure, he's struggled in the beginning of the year, but let's think about what he did over the final course of the regular season. I mean, he had a pretty solid year. He had a career high 4,049 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. But if you look at just his stats, I don't think it tells the entire story. I don't think it tells everything that this dude had to deal with throughout this season, him losing his top receiver, him losing Brandon LaFell. Heck, the dude dealt with a lot of shit in the offseason and still, I think, had a pretty good year, especially once he got rolling with Jon Gruden. But this is what made me chuckle, I think, the most. These quarterbacks were ranked higher than Carr and Madden. So, Raider Nation, I'm going to ask you right now, who's better, Jameis Winston or Derek Carr? Exactly. Who's better, Lamar Jackson or Derek Carr? Okay, Andy Dalton or Derek Carr? All right, Marcus Mariota or Derek Carr? Now, here's the only one I think you could argue, Matthew Stafford or Derek Carr. But if those 5 quarterbacks are better than Derek Carr, please, get out of here. All right, so I want to know from you, what should Derek Carr's Madden rating be? I want you to comment below. All right, comment below what you think it should be if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, anywhere that you're watching this video. What should Derek Carr's rating be? And if you want to know what I think, DM me on Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. Next rumor here is around the Raiders and whether or not they're going to be the Oakland Raiders. And last week I came on the show and I said this one's 3 Chucky heads, but apparently the Oakland Coliseum is spreading some fake news, so now I'm dropping it down to 2 Chucky heads, and I think people are talking. And the guy that's talking is Mark Davis. So I want to be able to give this full story and give it to you right. So the Oakland Coliseum Authority will have a critical meeting on Friday to discuss the possibility of the Raiders returning to the Bay Area for one final season. The report initially stated that Mark Davis would sit down with Scott McKibben, the executive director of the Oakland Coliseum Authority, but the Raiders owner has since informed us that that's absolutely false. The Associated Press also wrote in a report on Monday that no team officials would be present and no formal meeting between the two parties has been scheduled. Instead, McKibben, he's just meeting with his own dude. So, McKibben, I don't know what you're coming up with, and I would love to see the Raiders play in Oakland. But if he's making up stuff, I don't know, man. That worries me a little bit. But if Mark Davis is saying that there's absolutely no meeting set in place, it scares me a little bit. But luckily enough for us, BetDSI also hooked us up with some odds. So the fact that BetDSI was able to hook us up with some odds and say where the Raiders are going to play their home games in 2019, Oakland is still the favorite there at plus 120. Santa Clara, Phoenix, San Diego's up there on the board. And, hey, might be some San Diego Raider Nation rumors. Hint, hint. And then you got Seattle, Memphis, Portland. Not really crazy about those. Toronto, St. Louis, London. I don't think we're ever going to go to the 6 with Drake. And then I understand London. I wouldn't put my money there. I think the Raiders are going to stay here in the U.S. And then field is any other city. So if it's any of those cities that aren't on there, you want to bet on the field at plus 500, go for it. Right now, though, I've actually already put money down on Oakland. So fingers crossed that I make some money, fellas. Okay, where will the Raiders play in 2019? We've been talking about this, I think, for all offseason. We'll probably continue to talk about it until we figure it out because I want the Raiders to stay in Oakland. But I want to know from you, where do you think the Raiders are going to play their 2019 home games? Are they going to be just straight up Willie Nelson on the road for all 16? Let me know in the comments section below. If you think that I look good, it's because of Mizzen+Main. Go to www.comfortable.af. These dress shirts are indeed comfortable as F. They are the best damn dress shirt you will ever buy. and they got sweat-wicking technology, super stretchy, wear them to work, wear them to the gym, sleep in them. Your boss will never know, I promise you. Shout out to Mizzen+Main for making the dudes here at Chat Sports look pretty good. Next rumor here is around Antonio Brown, and is he going to be a Raider? And I can already hear some of you being like, Mitch, we've talked about it. Well, guess what? With Antonio Brown, probably going to keep talking about it. This one, though, is only one Chucky head, and I just think it's a small shred of truth. So there's been a whole bunch of different reports on where Antonio Brown's going to go, and I've actually released a video of my top 5 teams for Antonio Brown on Main Chat Sports. So check that one out if you want to see my top 5. Here's the thing, though. John Clayton came out and said that he believes that the Raiders should not be counted out in terms of getting Antonio Brown, and he also said that I think Jon Gruden would be interested in AB, and he also said that Jon Gruden told him that he's a big fan of Antonio Brown's work ethic and talent. And I think when you look at Antonio Brown, we can all sit here and agree that he's a very talented wide receiver. And I've also heard from many people that his work ethic is incredible, and yes, he is a very talented wide receiver. But when talking about AB, it's the off-the-field issues. It's the drama. Heck, apparently he's got burner Twitter accounts now. I don't know. Is it any of you? Ernie Lopez, I'm looking at you. But when you look at this 2018 season of Brown, the dude's good. I mean, 168 targets, 104 catches, 1,297 yards, career-high 15 touchdowns. That's really impressive, but also we need to account for the fact that he's in a very talented offense. Now, he has had 6 straight seasons of over 100 catches. I get it. But I don't know if the Raiders are in win-now mode, and I think right now, if you're an NFL team, the only way you go after AB is if you are in win-now mode. So, with that being said, BetDSI was nice enough to give us odds on where Antonio Brown is going to play next season. The 49ers are the top favorite right now with plus 200 odds. The Jets at plus 300. The Bills at plus 450. AB, please do not go there. Arizona Cardinals at plus 500. Indianapolis Colts 600. Would love to see that from a fantasy football perspective. Texans, Browns, and the Raiders there at plus 1,000 odds. If you put down $10 on the Raiders, you can win $100. The Bears, the Titans, but I have an actual question for you because I don't want to know necessarily where he's going to play because I've asked that 100 times. Do you like Antonio Brown? Do you like him? Type Y for yes or type N for no. I'm just curious. I think if we would have asked this question earlier in the season, I would have probably got 99% yeses because it's Antonio Brown. He's a dude, and he's a really good football player. But type Y for yes, type N for no. Do you like Antonio Brown? With everything that's going on right now, I'm kind of getting sick and tired of it. I don't know about you. All right, my next rumor here is probably the biggest one, and I think I've gotten hit up on more on social media in the last week about this rumor than I have probably all the rumors since Khalil Mack. And it's the Vikings Mega Deal with the Oakland Raiders. And if you don't know what this is, sit down, maybe get a drink, beer, whatever. I don't care, because this is an interesting one. Now, if the Mega Deal here, I'm only going to give this one one Chucky head because I think it's a small shred of truth, and I would say like 1% chance, right? 1% chance is going to happen because what needs to happen is insane. So the people that came up with this are SB Nation, and the idea of this trade is, well, the Raiders need defensive help. No shit. The Vikings are also trying to dump their salary. The idea, the trade's going to be able to help the Raiders and the Vikings. So the Raiders need to upgrade a lot of positions. This is according to SB Nation. Thank you for that. Including edge rushers, cornerback, safety, wide receiver. And they could even use a right tackle to potentially replace aging Donald Penn. Now, here's the deal. Here's the deal that SB Nation was able to throw together. And the Vikings, they're going to receive the Raiders' first-round pick, the 24th overall, which they got wrong. Second-round pick, 2019, the 36th overall pick. And then the Raiders are going to receive Everson Griffin, defensive end, Trey Waynes, cornerback, Laquan Treadwell, wide receiver, Mike Remmers, right tackle, and then Anderson Sadejo, who's a safety. I like Everson Griffin as a talent, but he had a lot of off-the-field issues this past year. And Trey Waynes, okay, cornerback. Laquan Treadwell has never lived up to his first-round pedigree. Mike Remmers, okay, right tackle, but again, I don't really know if that's what we want. And then Anderson Sadejo. To me, it just looks like a bunch of Vikings trying to dump stuff, and if the Raiders are in win-now mode, I would maybe consider this move. Maybe consider it. But the Raiders, in my opinion, are still not in win-now mode. I would rather keep those picks, and let's maybe invest in the future of the Raiders and not on those 5 players. But I showed you the trade, so who would win? If that trade actually went down, who would win in that trade? I want you to type V for Vikings or type R for Raiders. If you want to know what I think, just slide in onto my DMs at Mitchell Renz 365. Shout out to BetDSI for hooking up Chat Sports with the best promo code on the internet. It's that live 120 for that 120% deposit bonus. You put down $50, you'll get $60 for free. You put down $100, you'll get $120 for free. Put down $500, get $600 for free. Play now, chatsports.com/bet. Shout out to BetDSI for hooking us up here at Chat Sports with the best promo code on the internet. Raider Nation, what's going on? Is this the #1 Raiders channel on YouTube? For Chucky Heads, believe it, baby. And if you haven't already, subscribe right here. I'm giving you Chucky Heads, news, rumors, Raider Nation rumors. And look at this, I'm making your life easier. Check out my next video. Thanks for watching, and go Raiders.